Just before we came on the air, I said to Betty Furness, Betty, I'm becoming an old-timer myself. I've been doing this 10 years, and you looked at me like I'm still a rookie.
You are. You're a nice kid. And you're going to be all right when you have a little experience.
Let me review, in case somebody just landed from another city. Betty Furness is a Channel 4 consumer reporter, but she was here on a program, I don't know which year, which was called Fashions Coming and Going.
Fashions Coming and Becoming.
Oh, Coming and Becoming. Yeah. And you were known as Nancy
Dixon.
Why Nancy Dixon?
Well, it was a sponsored program. It was 1945. It was sponsored by Sanforized, which was a process that was used to keep cotton from shrinking. And Sanforized had a name like Betty Crocker. It was Nancy Dixon. So I was Nancy Dixon.
And Clay, you're a publisher. You're not really a television personality, but you hosted one really memorable show here.
It was called The Friends Of,
yeah.
And the various people came on, and mine was The Friends of Clay Felker. And I had a lot of very talkative, contentious people.
Joyce Susskind is a former host of The Joyce Davidson Show, also the former co-host of PM East with Mike Wallace. And Skitch Henderson, we know, as a fine musician, conductor of the New York Pops, former host of the Skitch Henderson's New York. Let's talk working conditions, Betty. Back in 1945, what was it like to be in television then?
I tell you what it was, basically, was hot.
Yes.
Especially the show that I did on Channel 5, because it was Dumont at the time. It wasn't in a studio. It was done in an office building over on Madison Avenue and 53rd Street. And the lights were just at ceiling height. And it was so hot that we wore bandanas and heavy makeup and dark glasses to rehearse. And one day I said, this is really too hot. And I brought a room thermometer from home and I laid it on the table, which was considerably lower than my head. And the thermometer was broken at 132 within 5 minutes. Wow. And my head was closer to the lights than that.
The reason was that the cameras, the primitive early television cameras, needed to have all this intense light.
Enormous amount of light.
By the time I got to Channel 5, the climate for talk shows had changed some, but there was one similarity. Up to a few years ago, at least, almost all of the talk and information shows had a resident conductor, an orchestra conductor, or a band of some kind. I was lucky because I had the resident maestro of my show was Mr. Joe Raposo, great composer, talented pianist, nice man.
Did you think, Skitch, that, because you had that, wonderful experience on the Tonight Show, so close to Carson and everyone else?
Everybody else, yeah, because I started it with
that
Steve.
You kind of got it, it was Steve Allen, right? That you were kind of getting it by osmosis, that you had learned to do it just by watching them?
Well, I thought because I knew the technical side, that I knew the aesthetic side. And I found out I didn't, I found out you get your head handed to you every day, I think, sitting in your chair. I found myself coming to work every day thinking, oh, God, what will I do wrong today? When I did begin to get comfortable, they let me go.
Good.